My name's Rebecca Stern, and I was wanted to share my experience with working with Rob and Slutsky Elder Law. I came to it kind of a unique situation in that he has worked with me over several different things, about 3 or 4 different issues. But I actually came to know of him prior to that. I work in healthcare and I work in a hospital. And I was just talking to some of my social worker friends, and they happened to mention that this was his specialty. And he came and did workshops on preparation with estate law and elder care. And I found that really impressive because I think that people who want to give of their time to educate other people without like really a monetary gain is really someone that I would be interested in working with. But then I just sort of put that aside until, unfortunately, in 2015, there was a situation where my mother died very suddenly, like really suddenly, like the police came and told me, and it was from an accident. And it became very apparent that day, because my dad had dementia. I didn't really realize the extent of his dementia. It became very apparent literally the day that she died that he was not going to be able to stay in the home. So we scrambled around, and in our 15-hour day, we figured out some place to put him in a skilled nursing facility and that bought me a month. Although he doesn't really have a medical problem other than his dementia. He's very healthy. So he couldn't stay in a skilled nursing facility. He needed to go to a personal care home, which I was able to find. But the personal care home asked me to get a guardianship because they did explain something which I think is important for people to understand because it may happen to them as well. A personal care home is not a nursing home, which means that unless there's a legal reason that the person has to stay there, they're allowed to leave. And my dad was basically, when you talk to him briefly, he seemed like a very with-it person. He joked with you. It was hard to really get that he had Alzheimer's until you talked to him more. So, if I wasn't his guardian, he would be able to leave that facility. The police would not be able to make him stay. And it would have been a disaster. So I called Rob because I remembered his name. And I explained the situation to him, and he got right on it. Basically, my mother had died February 5th, and by March 30th, we had a temporary guardianship for my dad. And that's a lot of work. I mean, he had to get videotape testimony from his psychiatrist. He had to contact my brother, who lives in out of state, to get him to agree. He had to go and visit my father where he was staying and talk to him about this and have him have an understanding of why this was happening. And then we had to go to court. And I've been in court for health reasons where I've testified as an expert witness, but I've never been in court in this situation where I'd sit there and a judge would question me. So I was pretty nervous, but he walked me through the whole thing very calmly. And was, told me, just be fine, you'll be fine, and talk about what happened. And it went very well. But the other thing about Rob is he's been doing this for so long and he's so good at it. He has made very, very good connections in the various counties with the judges. And so he can kind of take a sidebar with people and say, I have this emergency, I really need, can you hear this right away? And that, I think, was one of the reasons that we were able to get the guardianship so quickly, which my dad really, really needed. So the next thing was that I was not aware of this, but it became apparent when we were going through things that my parents' estate was quite large and complicated. And, it became apparent that some things were going to have to happen in terms of just even protecting myself. Rob was saying like, look, I don't want to put stress between you and your husband, but this is something to think about with your life financially has changed. You need to think about that for your kids. And let's talk about, and you can talk with your husband too. Let's talk about what you need to do to protect everybody. And he did walk me through that. And that was very helpful. And everybody was very understanding about that. But I certainly had never thought that would happen. Then we came to the part where I had to sell my father and my mother's house. So it was still titled in their name, My mother's deceased. I never changed that. And it's in my father's name. And he's alive, but of course he can't sell his own property because he has dementia and actually can't hold any kind of property or finances in his own name legally because he's not incapable of judging those things. So Rob walked me through that process. And he said, this is what has to happen. You have to get a realtor. The realtor has to get 3 independent realtors, and they have to assess the property. The judge has to be convinced that it's going to be sold for, market value, and you're not cheating the person, which of course we weren't. I mean, I would never want to do that to my own family member, but I was pleased to see that there's a process that's in place to really protect someone's rights, because you never know if someone's trying to cheat someone out of something. So there was this complex process, and then we found a buyer. And the buyer, for some reason, I don't know why, almost never anyone does this, but they wanted to close in 30 days, at Christmas time. And we had to get a court order. I was ready to pull my hair out. And I just was about to say, this is not going to work. I mean, they told me this on, I think, December 15th. And, judges and people like that, once the way it seems to work in Montgomery County is that once you have a judge assigned to that case in orphans court, they kind of take up the things and hear that case every single time. So people go on vacation in December, right before Christmas. So I didn't know what to say. Rob was like, we're going to get it done. We'll get it done. Don't worry. And he did. We're able to close that. It took till the last day, but we were able to close that in 30 days. The people got their sale. I was able to sell the house, which was a big, load off my mind, because that was a major, just cleaning it out and everything like that took several years, and just it needed to be sold. So, so that was just really, and then we finally had the estate settlement, the settlement of the actual estate, which was complicated again because of the size. And we had to find a safe deposit box, which I didn't know where it was. I had to call the banks in a 3-mile area, which was interesting. And then we had to get a court order, which Rob walked me through with that. And then we had to settle the estate. So he was able to really help me and give me some good tips. Like he said, like if you can pay the estimated taxes, which you certainly can from the estate, within 90 days, you save 5%. I thought that everybody told their clients that, but apparently they don't. And I found out from some people I work with that they didn't know that. And they really, it would have been really helpful for them to know that. So as soon as we started doing this, he sent me a letter, several pages, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, all the things I needed to do. He suggested some good ideas because I was also the executive. I was supposed to be a co-executrix with my mother, but of course my mother predeceased me, so I was it. There was one other family member, my brother. He, for various reasons, is not in the picture, and he was not super cooperative about how we were going to decide this estate and the financial decisions and how things were invested. And Rob was really good with him. He just was calm. He talked to him. He explained everything. He suggested that really, if my brother didn't want to travel, it would be very difficult for him to come here and challenge these things because he'd have to get his own attorney in Pennsylvania, and he lives in Minnesota. So eventually he relented. And I don't know if I could have been as calm with our whole history doing that myself. So, so that was a big deal. He also had a really excellent team. Kathy, who is his secretary, Kathy D'Amato, is wonderful. His team he works with to do estate taxes, Chuck Jordan, is great. He's picked really just professional and people that are as competent as his. And he basically, over the course of 5 years, 4 or 5 years, I think it's 5 years, we're talking a lot. I have these little fits in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. I would freak out about something. Did I pay the taxes? Did I do the right form? Did I send the right form? And I would literally write him something at 2 a.m. Of course, he's not going to respond at 2 a.m. because, but at 5 a.m, I'd get a response. And I was thinking, when is this man asleep? Because he's responding at 5 a.m. He's responding at 11 at night. Just a quick little thing. But it put my mind at ease. So I just say, I think I had not had extensive experience with any kind of attorneys prior to Rob, but I think he set a very high bar. And in the future, hopefully I won't be disappointed with the other people, because he really just supports you with great knowledge. He supports you with organization. He supports you with a great team. He's very compassionate. As we were going to court, everything had been just very quick. And he took me aside before we went in to testify. And he said, I didn't really tell you, I just want to tell you, I'm really sorry about what happened. You lost your mother so quickly. Now you've lost your father because he doesn't even know you. They had to move out of their home. Your whole life has been turned upside down. My family was away from me at that point. My family, my husband and my child, because of where they were working. And I was alone, except for my dog. But of course, my dog can't help me. But Rob did. So that made it, just a lot better. And I just wanted to share that experience with other people, because in case you're wondering, is this the right person to choose? Is this person really going to guide me? I feel so worried and insecure. He really is going to help you.